Buddy, we are back, and we're going to cause some chaos, mayhem, and all sorts of things today. We have Astra in chat, and we also have Sopper. Anybody else, feel free to say hello. I've got a few bits to do today. We're just going to have a laugh, have a giggle, and do our usual. So we've got 3v3 defences to set, continuing on Conquest, a little bit of TB work. We've got quite a bit. So we can have a bit of a laugh, have a giggle. We're to chat, chill, everything else. Bane work is still going ahead because I've now got all his gear. It's more just getting the relic stuff together. We can currently relic for our Bane day 1. However, there is a downside. We have nothing else for him. I want to try and get him to potentially relic 6, maybe even relic 7. Or normal Luke. I'm in normal. So in normal, I will actually have to Google this. Right. So in the very best crate, home crate for red. So in the very best crate, you'll only get 15 shards of him. So you'll probably be looking at 10 shards. Probably be looking at 10 shards. You won't get a lot. But if you go into here, yeah, it's one of those. Mate, you don't want to be getting them through Proving Grounds. Honestly, your account's big enough that you should be getting them within 6 months in here. Once you're able to do hard mode, even here, so you get 15 and 25 and all this shit. It's much better to be doing hard. Even if you only get the first crate, you get more than normal. Because that is red crate. In fact, you get half of this in red crate. You don't get any of these in red crate on the second layer. You get less you get less cash. You don't get any of this. Yeah, you get less. I'll be able to get Conquest characters from Conquest myself. Yeah, this is the thing. So even in normal, in theory, you can grind it in 6 months. 9, but you can grind it in 6. So that's how I would see it, is you plan to grind in 6, not in anything else. Especially when the raid packs come back, I'm going to get that one with bulk of characters. So, yeah, this is the thing. It's such a good set of Watsits that we are, when things come back round, it's going to change the game again and again and again for months to come. Not that one. Take that. You don't want to farm cap. Ooh, stupid idea. I hate these at the best of times, but I've got a stupid idea to deal with them. Ooh, we want that, because we're going to need the potency for this. Haha, Night Sisters team. Yeah, so it's not just the speed that I'm looking at. Yes, I'm wanting the speed so that I can make them hit like an absolute freight train. But the other stats are important. You've got to just have a very... You'll find speed does come into it more than any other stat. Speed is more a case of if you've got something that hits at the right sequence, you can get more damage out of it. If you've got something that hits 3 or 4 times in the same time I take 1 or 2 hits, that's even better. Yeah, that is a good mod. Don't get me wrong, that is a very good mod. But what you've also got to see is there we go. That does that. Now that does that. And now we do this. And yeah, as long as the percentage is high, it's going to be a good mod. But if it's a low-end mod, and it's got a decent amount of... Ooh, this is bad. Right, do that. Everybody come back. Do that. Yeah, it all depends, because there are going to be situations where you just want a ridiculous amount of speed. And how this game was for so long, speed became king. And honestly, speed became the ultimate, if you've got enough speed, you win game. And that's what it came down to. Resist blow, yeah. It's one of those. I'd love to say... There we go. Everybody survived. I would say it's possible with quite a lot of them. You're just gonna... Some characters you are gonna need insane speed sets to get there. We have a kitten that's decided he wants attention. You know what he wants, guys. Oh, that's your funny trick. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's a funny trick one person read.
Yeah. We've got a fatty raid right here.
You know you can raid without streaming. Ooh.
Nah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, where's the fun in that though, Sop?
That's very fun. Just imagine, like, you think you're getting a raid, which just won't do, but it's just there. That is, it's very funny.
Nah, no thanks, Sop. I like raids, don't get me wrong, but...
No, he wants real raids.
Yeah.
He wants the real raid.
Hello. What do you want? What do you want? They can't see that over there. You can stare at your dreamies all you want. They can't see it. Should we put it back on? That's the question.
Ooh.
Should we put the option to give you dreamies back on? You little rat bag.
Give me an axe and a longbow and I'll sell right on it. Well, I mean,
should we put that back on?
Like
that.
Although,
Badger, see? I've just turned it back on. Available.
Oh, the cat is going to get spoiled. I swear like a bunch of us are going to redeem the dreamies back to that.
We haven't attempted gas yet, Luke. We've just been chatting. Oh. Sopper wants VIP, which he's already got, so I'll renew that in a minute. And Badger wants to give you some dreams.
No, oh, there it is.
You have to usually wait till after it to clip it.
I got a bit of that.
Yep. Getting a twerking wampa. We're getting a twerking wampa, guys. As an emote, when we get... Yeah, it is. From. There we go. So, on here, it's Hot Utils. You have to sign in. I don't know if it is a paid for only one. I'm actually going... so if you pay for Hot Utils, so the way to do it, hit refresh. It means it'll kick you out of the game. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. I'll show you properly how to do it. just so that we get an up-to-date of our account. So it's now seconds ago updated, all the way down here on other, not on template, on other, SE Gear. You have to log in with Google, which is up just off the screen corner. And then we will completely remove Bane, actually. And say, let's go with General or Anakin Skywalker. So Gear 13 is my target. It doesn't bring up any relic stuff because I've not set it. And it tells you what you need to take him to Gear 13. All that red is gear you don't have. All the green is gear you do. So it literally gives you a bit of a pre-farm. So in here, what have we got that would be an awkward farm? It also gives you an approximate days, so you can do this in about 5 days. But yeah, about 5 days of farming. But here we go. We'll now remove him from here, and we'll put Bane back. Darth Bane. And we're planning on at least taking him to Relic 5, so you may as well put it in. In the Relic bit, it tells me I need 21 more Bronzium wirings. And in here, you hit this. It's just a load of shitty gear. It's less than a day's farm. Yeah, you don't need to now. GG. It is a GG team, so we want our first order counter. Because this should work. We'll take Red Trooper. He hasn't got his thing, but he can cleanse. Take that, so we can multi-pass. There we go. This should be okay now. Because he doesn't take percentage health damage. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right. We poke. Our offense is going to climb like there's no tomorrow from these 12 bonuses, by the way. That's the idea, is that the amount of stuff we're going to be generating each time, in theory, should make us absolutely bonkersly hard to deal with. Because every debuff we gain, we're going to gain an absolute crap ton in, in offense. Back to you. Swing here. Try and kill these two. Oh, so close.
Finish him!
Well, he did die instantly when you said it. Swing. Let's go up. Team, at least. Is this... Ah, it didn't save. Right. Cheers. You, and you. Nope. You. That's first order. Right, somebody's got the wrong cron somewhere. So we're just going to save it and go find that. God damn it, I love Airhead so much. What do you mean, One Night Plays? What's up, buddy? Is it the Airhead's snacks? Because they're bloody gorgeous. You will want Padme Cron if you... Yeah. I want a lot of crons. I just can't get them. Right, let's check in here. Ah, there it is. We want that back. You can have the other cron. That just sounds nice. Yeah, we want this on, what's it? We don't particularly want to use that one. Put this on. Boop, boop. Yeah. The rest of them you'll want at least R3 though. So that the all gain all the bonuses. That's that one. We want to put the other first order one on here. Just trying to set up a lot of annoying traps. So, lots and lots of little annoying traps all over the board. Whoever we play is going to hate this defense. Because even if they clear to the back, there's still another relic team. What, Tuscans? Nobody understands Tuscans. Too much text in that team. You start reading and you go... You put it on auto and it does things. Like the Gungans, put it on auto and it does things. So there we go. That's our defenses set. Not so much. Tuscans, it's just annoying. Got this bag of shite. Oh, we need to alter that as well because it calls the wrong one. Infinite reviving Tuscan Raider. Yeah, there is that. You. Resistance. We want you in there and you in there. And now that should be a bit better. And there we go, guys. Because his offense is ramped. This one's offense is ramped. We're now at a crazy offense level. And a crazy amount of mastery to go with it. And I think we're even going to auto it. Because, yeah, may as well now. We'll have to watch carefully to make sure it's doing the right things. Really? We lost buttons. See? I think you kept triggering it. I think he did as well. He's communicating with MJ, you know. 100% sure of it. Mister, go away. Go on. See if I can get into it without him noticing this time. Done it. Done it. He's not even realised. He's currently out on the kitchen side. You ready, guys? Psst, 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 psst. Come here, put your tap! What's in my hand? You little dum-dum. Come on, up, up. MJ says up, up. You get in the second load of dreamies. And there's some more dreamies.
I'm a dinosaur!
With his claws, definitely. He is definitely a dinosaur. He might even be a velociraptor.